Hey, thank you for joining us. This is Friday Chapel. Welcome. My name's Paul Brandis. I serve here as the Associate VP for Student Life and get to be the chaplain of the college. That was incredible. One more round of applause for the choir and for Highland. One of the reasons why we do this is not just because our choir is fantastic, they are, but also because we want to remind you that worship is broader than just being invited to stand and sing worship songs. And we do that a lot. That's participatory musical worship. But there's other ways to worship. We've already talked about that in chapel this year. And I think one of the other ways we can actually worship through music is by way of observational worship. When you see something beautiful with their voice, and what is more beautiful than what we just experienced, hearing these incredible singers glorify God with their voices. When you see something beautiful, it ought to remind us of the most beautiful being in the universe, who is God himself. So we gather each and every Wednesday and Friday to worship that God. We believe that Jesus is King of the universe, that he is risen from the grave, and that he is worthy of our worship because of those two things. So thank you for being here this morning. Thank you to those that joined us last night. We had a Hispanic worship service. We're smack in the middle of Spiritual Emphasis Week, and we partnered with Pastor Oscar Gomez, who pastors a church up in Lyons. They brought, oh my goodness, they brought some tacos, y'all. Who was there last night? We had some students. It was incredible. There was one individual who I will not name that ate 15 of them. It wasn't me, I promise. I do have a friend. You know how sometimes it's like, I have a friend, and it's really you. I didn't eat, I had 6, but I didn't have 15. So it was delicious. It was incredible. Pastor Oscar shared an incredible message, homily, sermon from Psalm 23, and that really excited me because he is going to be in chapel on November 12th. So you want to mark that date down. He is here, going to be here. He's preaching. That's Friday. It's a Friday, November 12th, and it's going to be incredible. So it's been a wonderful week. We have my friend, Pastor Bryan, is still here. He was here on Wednesday for an awesome chapel. He's here this morning again, and we're going away on the Spiritual Life Retreat where he'll be speaking 2 more times. It's not too late to join for that. We're hoping maybe to have a sign-up deadline of yesterday, but man, I just would love it if you can make it. We're leaving at about 4:15 today, and we'll be back at about 7 o'clock tomorrow. So if your schedule is free, if you want to retreat away from the demands of life and campus noise, come and be with us. It's going to be a great time. So at this point, I actually want to invite Paige up on stage. Everybody say, yay, Paige. Yay. Let's give Paige a round of applause. Paige is our wonderful SGA Vice President, that's Student Government Association, and we wanted to platform them in addition to the choir this morning just so you can know a bit more about who SGA is and what they do. So why don't we just start there, Paige? Can you introduce yourself, your cabinet, and then explain a little bit about the jobs that each of them do? And I think we'll have some slides behind as well that will, because we only have you on stage. So go ahead.
Okay, hi. My name is Paige. Like he said, I am the SGA president. Basically what my job is that I organize and oversee the cabinet. I organize adulting classes that we do, and I meet with Jason Bryan and President Rich once a month to talk about student concerns and what's happening on campus. So yeah, that's a big part of what we do is we're advocating for you guys. Next up is Trinity. She's our vice president. Trinity oversees the Senate meetings and who go over the budget for each club to make sure that everyone's spending money wisely. Next up is Natalie, I believe. Yes, our secretary. She oversees homecoming, which is a huge event across campus, and then she also takes notes at our meetings, which you can look up and see what we're talking about at our meetings. Next up is our treasurer, Hunter. Hunter organizes the SGA budget. So if you ever have any questions about what we're spending money on and where your money is going, go talk to Hunter. He knows all of it. Next up is Dalen, our office manager. He oversees the student union. He prints posters and he manages our office supplies. He's in charge of the union and making sure that it's a fun, good, safe place for everyone to hang out. So talk to Dalen if you have any questions on that. And lastly is our director of campus activities, Grace. She oversees all the clubs on campus and runs the blood drives. So if you're ever wanting to start a club or you have any questions about clubs, go talk to Grace. She's great.
Awesome. And you touched on this a little bit, but how would you describe the real heart of the mission of SGA? Like, what's the big why behind it?
SGA is here, like I said, to advocate for students. All of us on SGA have a different heart for different health and campus. Trinity is huge in diversity. Natalie is really big on mental health and advocating for that. Grace is also great with spiritual. She's a student chaplain. So we all have our own hearts here on campus. So if you ever want to come talk to us during our office hours, we love to reach out to you and talk to you about what your concerns are and how we can make this campus a better place for you.
And those office hours, they were on the screen, but they're also posted outside of the office,
Yep.
right? Which is in the union.
Yes, right
I'm sure
next
you
to the
guys know
nurse's
that, but
office.
yes. Okay, wonderful. And then what are you most excited about this year as you look at what you and your cabinet have planned for SGA?
So we have 2 events coming up soon. On Tuesday, this next coming Tuesday, we have Fugitive at 9 p.m., and you can just meet us by the Servant Leadership statue. So that's always a fun time. And then we also have an adulting class coming up that following Tuesday over cooking. And Trinity will be running it because she's won multiple awards in cooking. So you could learn a lot from her. We're also planning adulting classes for October. We're going to do car maintenance. And November, we're going to do mental health. We also have plans for the union for getting some gaming consoles, getting new couches. So we're really going to do a lot with the student union as well.
Let's give her a big round of applause. Thank you, Paige. So if I heard that right, in October, Paige, more updates, especially is that awesome? And they will be back. We will have them here for more updates, especially as we get closer to homecoming. So you don't want to miss all the great things that your Student Government Association is doing. At this point, all I'd love for you to do, you're going to be all clapped out, but please do it one more time. Let's welcome Bryan to the stage. Yeah.
Well, happy Friday, everybody. Is that an exciting thing? It's Friday. Can I be honest with you guys? I'm kind of digging this whole Sterling lifestyle thing. I have never done small town life ever before. I know everybody's name in town. I've met everybody in the last 2 days. I had a meeting at Clive's, right? Great coffee shop. I'm not gonna lie, I had anxiety about finding parking when I was going there. I was like, where am I gonna park? And then there was 1,000 open spaces. And then I literally walked up and down the street for like 5 minutes looking for the parking meter. I'm not even kidding. There's no parking meters. It's all free. It's amazing. Like, I'm not even afraid about my car getting towed. It's parked on campus somewhere. I don't think anybody cares, right? That's totally fine. I love it here. It's great. Somebody actually waved me in their car. I went for a run, and a dude just waved to me from his car. That's normal. That's a normal thing. People are nice here. It's very nice. It was strange. It was really strange. I did not wave back to him. It was really awkward. So, but he was nice, at least. Man, guys, it seriously has been an honor. I've been hanging out a couple days, getting to know some of you guys. Just seriously, it has been so fun, and I am looking forward to this retreat happening this weekend. If any of you guys want to slip in last minute, I think we're gonna have a great time. We're gonna be talking about just really navigating the culture, living and following Jesus, just in this world. I think we're gonna talk about some pretty interesting things. If $30 really is a hindrance, I'll tell you this: I will pay your way. All right. I'm independently wealthy as a minister, but I'd be happy to pay your way if $30 is really too much. But let's get into it today. We're going to have some fun today. Now, I don't know if you guys feel this, but I feel like the college years are just weird years. They're just strange. You're spending 4 years on this campus. Some of you guys came from across the country just to live in this little bubble for a couple of years, and it's just a strange time of life when you really think about it. You are a full-fledged legal adult, right, by law, but if you're honest right now, you still depend on mommy and daddy a lot, right? And you still feel like a child. Just be honest. You still feel like a little kid sometimes. I think it's kind of weird because you got more freedom and opportunity than ever before, and yet you feel totally unprepared for adulting. I mean, literally, SGA is just somehow putting on classes about adulting because do you guys really feel like you're ready to adult, do a mortgage, do all that kind of stuff? Trust me, you ain't ready for kids. Nobody's ready for kids, all right? You're just not ready. There is just so many unknowns about your future and where you're going to end up, what you're doing. You have no idea where you're going to be when you're 30 or 40 or what your future is really going to hold. And the decisions in college are honestly just overwhelming. I mean, you're making a decision about a major that you're going to invest 4 years of your life into. It's an expensive thing. And then you're hoping that maybe this will set you up for this career that you might end up doing for your entire life, maybe. And you're going to invest yourself in that. Just think about this. I mean, some of you guys are going to make some decisions about the types of people you want to date. You might even make a marriage decision during college. Do I got any engaged people in the house? Anybody engaged in here? Okay, see, well, there's maybe one back there. Don't worry, I won't spot you out. Don't worry, we won't punch you out. That's cool, though. Congratulations. You're gonna decide what your first like real grown-up job is gonna be when you get out of school. You're gonna figure out where you're gonna live. You're gonna make decisions about what you believe. I mean, it's honestly kind of overwhelming. And what's kind of weird about it is sometimes you don't even know how serious a decision is until after it's made. When I was a senior in college, I was in my last semester. I still remember this. One of my friends invited me over to his apartment just after one of the basketball games on our campus. And so I'm just like, all right, I'll go hang out for a couple minutes. Well, it was at that hangout that I met this girl, Nicole, who would eventually become my wife now of 8 years. And now we have 2 kids. And it is the best decision she has ever made in her life. But I honestly, sometimes I've literally thought about mine. I'm like, what if I didn't go to my friend's apartment that night? Like, would I be living in my mom's basement eating Cheetos, watching TikTok videos right now? Like, I've really thought about it. Like, what would my life look like if I just didn't make that tiny little decision to go to this friend's apartment? And here's the thing. You guys, you really have some massive decisions to make. And honestly, I feel that for you. Some of these can be pretty overwhelming and stressful, but there's actually 3 decisions I think really matter for you to make. And you're actually making these without even realizing it. But I think if you really become aware of these decisions and make them intentionally, this really will change the trajectory of your life. So I want to talk about these 3 decisions right now. If you guys want to follow along with me, I'm going to be pulling these from Romans 12. It'll be on the screens too, but sometimes it's fun to walk along with us. So we're going to be in Romans 12. I'm going to start verse 1, but this is the first decision I think you really have to make and you have to wrestle with. Are you going to live by security or sacrifice? And just to kind of get the foundation going, this is Romans 12, verse 1. This is Paul writing to a group of Christians in the first century. He says this, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice. Now, just so we can keep getting to know each other, guys, you know what kind of texts I hate getting? Ask me if I'm busy. People text me and say, hey, you busy? I hate that. Do not text me and ask me if I'm busy, because you know what the answer is? Well, it depends. Because if you're going to invite me over to your house to eat all your food for free, yes, I'm free. Let's talk and hang out. But if you're about to ask me to help you move this weekend, I'm going to try to find something to do that weekend, so I am busy. I hate when people ask me if I'm busy. It depends. What do you want me to do for you? And actually, a great measure of a friendship is how much is that person really willing to sacrifice for you? That is a really good measure of a friendship, because by definition, if you are sacrificing for somebody, you are doing something for the benefit of them at a cost to you, right? I mean, that's the whole definition of it. Now, when I'm talking about this idea of security, I'm talking about this approach to life where ultimately your end goal is looking out for yourself. How's it going to benefit me? What do I get out of this? Does this serve my interests and desires? It's a security mindset. And here's the thing, guys. I think if we really peel back the layers, let's just have a moment of honesty here. If we really look at just kind of the day-to-day approach we have when it comes to our relationship with God, sometimes it's very security focused. You know, we think, oh, well, God kind of exists to help me out, right? So I go to him when I got my problems, and then hopefully he hooks me up, and then I just kind of go about my life, and maybe I pay my spiritual dues. I'll go to church. I'll go to something if it has chapel credit. Was that too low? Sorry, I wasn't trying to dig at you guys for that. But I'll do some spiritual stuff, but at the end of the day, my life's kind of my deal. You know, I'm just kind of doing my thing. I got to look out for myself. I've got goals. I've got desires. I've got things I'm trying to do. And yet, Paul, with this whole base text we're looking at today, he's saying if that really is your mindset about your relationship with God, it shows that you actually fundamentally misunderstand how this whole thing works. Because there's a little phrase there where Paul said, in view of God's mercy. That is the whole premise of this idea of offering our lives as a sacrifice to God. If you guys read through just the earlier chapters of Romans, Paul sets this whole argument saying, hey, things aren't just bad, they're like really, really bad. And we don't even like to hear this, but he's like, hey, there's this thing called sin. It's not just that you have some bad habits and you make mistakes. It's like you're screwed. All right, there's no other way to say it. We are absolutely screwed. This is a hopeless situation. We can't get ourselves out of this predicament we're in. And yet, even with how bad this thing is, God, out of his unbelievable love and grace, came and made the ultimate sacrifice. He literally gave of himself completely for us in Jesus. And I just love that. He says, God showed us mercy, not judgment, not hatred. He didn't just come and obliterate us. He showed mercy. And basically what Paul is saying is, if God really was willing to go to those lengths for you, if he was willing to go that far for your good, you can trust him with your life. He is trustworthy. He is never going to do you wrong. And so the only logical response to that is to trust him with your entire life and lay it down for him. He even takes another level further. He says, your offering must be only for God and pleasing to him, which is your true and proper worship. So I did a wedding last week in North Carolina. Any North Carolina people in the house? I'm just curious. I'm just interested. Okay, I'm just curious. It was my first time. So I'm doing this wedding for some friends. And this is the new trend, guys, doing your own personal vows, right? So some of you guys might actually do this when you get married. You know, you write your own vows out. Here's the thing. I think it's kind of fun. It's interesting to see what people write. I get so much anxiety when couples do it, though. Because here's what I know. The girls' vows are going to be amazing. They're going to be perfect. She's going to cry a little bit. She's going to literally pour her soul out to this guy. The guy's vows, it's literally a 50-50 shot on how that thing's going to go. And I get so nervous. That's why you always have the guy go first when you do the vows, because if he bombs, at least he doesn't have to follow his new wife who's going to just crush it. It's just how it works, all right? But just imagine this. You're on your wedding day, you're doing your vows, and you're standing across from the person you are going to spend the rest of your life with. You are committing yourself to this person and your family and friends. Pour your heart out, giving all these vows, bearing your soul in front of all your family and friends. And then your fiance, soon-to-be spouse in a couple moments, is like, babe, I love you. You're hot. I love you a lot. Like, seriously, I'm excited about our future. This is going to be fun. We might even have a couple kids, but I just want to let you know that I'm going to be texting a couple of my exes, throughout the years. I'm going to be keeping tabs on some people on social media. I just want to keep my options open, but I really like you a lot. But I just want you to know that. Now, after you smack that person and walk away and try to get all your money back because you've just gone into debt for this wedding and you have my permission to do that, you all know that's just ridiculous, right? Like, it's just, it would never happen. Because we all know what total devotion should look like. We know. And by definition, really, a relationship with God is like a spiritual marriage. It is exclusive. He's saying a life for God, it can only be for him. You can't go halfway in this thing. It's not 1 foot in and 1 foot out. He says this is your true and proper worship. It's the only way you can do this thing. It's the only way it works. And I will tell you guys, this is just real talk. It is getting harder and harder to truly live for Jesus today. All right? I know it might feel not super hostile in Sterling, Kansas, maybe, to be a Christian. It's hard in Denver. I'll be honest. It's hard. And this is some of the stuff we'll talk about on the retreat. But guys, you're not going to get points for being a Christian in the coming years. It's not going to help you in certain contexts. It may come at a massive cost. I mean, some of you guys, you are going to lose job opportunities over your commitment to Jesus. Some of you guys, it may really hurt your earning potential. It may cost you friends. It may make your life a lot harder in some ways. It is going to become more and more of a true sacrifice if you really want to take God seriously. And I'll be honest with you guys, it is very tempting sometimes to say, you know what? This is just too hard. I kind of want to just do life my way. I want to make some money. I want to go on trips. I want to do my thing. Like, this feels kind of limiting sometimes to follow God. It's tempting. But Paul's challenge is this. If you really understand the mercy and goodness of God, the only proper response is total devotion of your life to him. And so you guys have to ask yourselves today, are you going to live your life looking out for your own interests at the end of the day? What you want, how you want your life to go, what you consider a happy, successful life, or are you really going to give your life to God and trust him with the results? That is a decision you really have to make. But there's another decision to this. Let's go to the second one. Am I going to live by conformity or conviction? Paul says, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Now, I grew up in the Midwest, okay, guys? So don't judge me for that. It's just what it is, all right? Now, this is interesting. When I was in high school, Chacos were just starting to come out. You guys know what Chacos are, right? Those sandals. Now, here's funny. When I was in the Midwest, if you showed up to my school wearing Chacos, you were like the weirdest grape nuts eater, outdoorsy, camper, hipster type of person. You got judged. Like, nobody thought Chacos were cool in the Midwest. They were like, what are those weird, lame shoes? Anybody wearing Chacos right now? Okay. Now, here's the thing. When I moved to Colorado, Chacos are required attire to be accepted into society. Like, people wear them on their wedding days in Colorado. It's funny how different it is. And although I know there's a lot of us here from different places in the country, you can kind of guess where somebody's from after talking to them for a little bit. You know what I mean? You can kind of make an educated guess. How do you know if somebody's from the South? They're a little slow. Let's just be honest. They're just a little slow. Just a little bit. We love you. You're very kind. But there's just a slowness factor to the South. All right? You're laughing because it's true, okay? That's all I'm saying. Now, here's the thing. How do you know somebody's from the East Coast? How do you know somebody's from the East Coast? They're a jerk. Exactly. They're mean. You just don't like them. Now, they don't know they're mean. They think they're being perfectly kind, but you're mean if you're from the East Coast. How do you know somebody's from California? Exactly. They're shallow. They're fake. How do you know somebody's from the Midwest? They're perfect. Exactly. They're perfect. Okay? I'm never going to get invited back. Paul's like, no. Too much controversy getting stirred up in chapel today. You know what's so interesting, though? Like, your culture shapes you. Like, where you grew up, who you hung out with, the types of people you felt, like your mannerisms, your accent, it totally shapes who you're going to become. Paul and I were talking the other day about raising our kids in different contexts. I'm like, I'm going to raise Coloradans. It's strange to me because I'm technically not a Coloradan. You know, my birth. He's going to raise, Kansans? Is that Kansans? You know? I don't even know. I don't even know where they are. But you can't even help it sometimes, and it's not always bad. I'm not even saying it's a bad thing, but here's what Paul's saying. He's saying that there's certain values and patterns of this world that actually work against God's purposes in your life. And when I went to college, guys, I went to Missouri State University, so just a big state school, and it was kind of interesting because I was in the band, because I was a cool kid, all right? Let's go, band people. So I was in school, I was on this little music scholarship, and so I was in the band, and we actually had to go to school 2 weeks early before the dorms opened up and classes started. So I was in the drum line, and I'm all excited. And we get there. It's really cool. You know, you're like this 18-year-old, and there's all these other people in this drum line. Feel cool. Well, here's the thing. The dorms weren't open up yet. And so I had nowhere to sleep. You know, I was 18, so there was no Airbnb, and I was too dumb to think of even getting a hotel, you know, and broke and everything. So some of the guys on the drum line invited to let me stay in their house with them for those 2 weeks. I'm like, cool, all right, I'm going to get in with the group. This is going to be fun. It's going to be great. Well, here's the thing. I didn't know that this house on campus was literally known as the party house. Like the party house. At this giant school, 30,000 people, this was the house. And the first night I get there, I'll be honest with you guys, it was exactly like the movies. Exactly. It was exploding with people, the mute chapel blaring. There was all kinds of activities going on that I probably shouldn't mention in a chapel, but the one weird thing that's like imprinted on my memory was there was literally just a guy peeing on a couch. I'm sure there were toilets in the house, but he was just taking a whiz on a couch. And this was my first introduction to college life, literally. And honestly, I had this moment where I was just like, wow, okay, welcome to college. Does that happen here at Sterling, people peeing on couches and stuff? I hope not. It's just... Now, here's the thing. This is my first time away from home. This is a huge transition. And in that moment, though, I realized, I'm like, I really have a decision to make right now. Like, what kind of direction am I going to go in with this whole college thing? And I'll be honest with you guys, there was actually a lot of aspects about what was happening at that night that was pretty tempting. And I wanted to be in with this group. You know, I'm just starting, so I'm like, well, maybe this is just what it is. But there was something in me that knew, though, that these were patterns that God did not want me to conform to. And I remember that night, I actually ended up just in a moment of courage. Trust me, I have many weak moments too, but in this moment, I decided, I left the house, and I ended up taking my car to a tennis court parking lot, and I slept in my car for the next 2 weeks, living off of Honey Nut Cheerios and water. Now, I'm not saying that was necessarily the best alternative decision, but what I am saying is there was a conviction that I just knew God wanted me to listen to. And it came at a cost. It did not help my relationship with those guys. I got defined as the weird, prude, judgy Christian, who didn't want to have a good time. But at the same point in time, I just knew it was a conviction that God wanted me to live by. I'll tell you guys, it is so much easier to conform sometimes. It's what gets rewarded. Honestly, sometimes it's more fun. You don't want to miss out. But Paul has this challenge. He's saying, God doesn't want you to conform. He wants you to truly experience a fundamental transformation in your life as he renews the way you think, your desires, and your convictions. And some of you guys, you know what I'm talking about. You know what it's like not to even remember what happened the night before. And then God got a hold of you, and you noticed that your desires started to change, and you didn't even want some of the stuff that you used to want. And it's actually kind of strange even when that process starts happening. Some of you guys, you really know what it's like. Of boyfriends or girlfriends or hookups. And then God just starts to get a hold of you, and you find yourself wanting to honor God with your body and in your relationships. And sometimes the transformation process, it's slow and it's difficult, but God actually starts to change you into a different person. And I think some of you guys today, you just have to acknowledge, when you look at your own life, you know the conformity thing is not working. You're not happier. You're not more fulfilled. You still feel empty. And I think you need to realize that God wants to start a renewal process in your life. And he will give you new convictions that will fundamentally transform your life. I got one more decision that I think we all have to wrestle through. You live by your plan or God's plan? Paul finishes this section. He says, then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is. His good, pleasing, and perfect will. I'll tell you guys, I think the college years can be really stressful. I mean, any of you guys ever feel some anxiety about just your future and grades and finals and all that stuff? I was really stressed out in college a lot of times. It's sometimes scary. You're trying to think of what's going to happen in my career, what's going to go on in my life. Am I going to be single? Because if I don't get married by the end of college, I'm screwed. Some of you guys are thinking, I need my MRS degree stat. But here's one thing that should remove, thank you. Here's what I think should remove some fear, though. Paul literally gives a guarantee. He says God actually has a plan. He has a plan for you. It's good. It's pleasing. It's perfect. And he wants to guide and direct you into this plan he has for you. Now, when I actually got through that whole crazy drumline fiasco and house party thing, I started going to school. And actually, my plan was just to go into medicine. That was the plan. And I'll tell you guys, there was no other motives for that other than I just wanted to make some good money and live a comfortable life. That was just pretty much my mindset. It was my freshman semester when I started having all this weird angst about just my major and future and career. And I, for whatever reason, started to feel like God wanted me to go into ministry. Now, here's the thing. I don't have family in ministry. There's no history there. I never had a youth pastor tell me, oh, you should go be a pastor. That'd be a great idea. Nobody ever suggested this to me. And I even have journal entries from that time. I started journaling in college. I have journal entries where I literally wrote down, I feel like I'm supposed to be a pastor, but I don't want to work on the weekends and I don't want to be poor. And to me, that was enough reason to totally not do it. And so for a whole semester, I was really struggling with this. I still remember, though, right when my second semester started, it was in January, I was coming back from the dining hall on a Friday night, and all my roommates were gone and stuff, and I just was so overwhelmed with just this internal feeling and pressure I was having. I just literally got on my knees, and I said, God, I would rather try and do what I think you're calling me to do and fail than always wonder if I missed your call for my life. I was so terrified of getting to the end of my life and maybe having a pile of money and some nice toys and things, but wondering if I totally missed what God wanted for my life. It scared me to death. And so I just figured out, I'm 19. Okay, if this doesn't work out, I'll be 25. I can fail. I can just start over. So I'm at least going to give this thing a shot. And so I remember changing my major, and it was all crazy, and I didn't even know what it meant to go into ministry. But I will tell you guys, it has been a crazy ride. Like, I can't even believe the way my life has turned and twisted and gone after making that decision. But at the same point in time, I'll tell you guys this. There is a peace and confidence I have, even with all the uncertainty, knowing that to the best of my ability, I'm trying to open up my life and follow God's path and plan, even if it's what I wouldn't have even written for myself. And some of you guys, you got to hear this today. God's will for your life, it very likely will not be easier. It may not be more comfortable. It may not even be what you originally wanted for yourself, but I can give you this absolute guarantee. God's plan is way better than any plan you could write for yourself. He is going to do things in your life you never could have even imagined. And he will turn you into a person you never even thought, good for my life. And you need to make that decision, though. Am I just going to try to write my own script for my life? Or am I willing to trust God with even the details of this plan and see where he takes me, even if it comes at a real cost? And so as we just close today, guys, you're going to make a ton of decisions during these years. And some of them are massive, massive. But if you get these important ones right, you can be certain that God is going to get you exactly where you need to go. Let me pray for you right now. God, I'm just so grateful for all these students here this morning. And I know there are just some very big decisions that are made during these years. And so for any students feeling any anxiety or pressure or stress right now, God, about their future or what their life may look like, I really pray that even in this moment you would give them peace, knowing that you genuinely have a plan for them, a good plan, one that is in their best interest, that'll give their life the most meaning and joy and impact. And so right now, Lord, I pray that you would open us up to make these decisions in the right way, to really experience your guidance and your direction. And I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Let's give Bryan a big round of applause. Yeah. Thank you, Bryan. I needed all of those reminders. The 3 decisions that are, I think, I'm with him, going to be more important than any other decision that you make in your life. And if you noticed with me, the second 2 decisions about living by conviction rather than conformity, right, by living by God's plan and not your plan, they drive off of the first decision, right, where the first decision is related more towards what's at the very center of my life. What's at the top of my priority list? What is most important? Right? In light of God's mercy, in light of what he has done for me in Christ Jesus, am I going to give him what he asks of me? Am I going to give him really what he demands of me? Which is the top spot in my life? Which is the number 1 on the priority list? Am I going to give him that? And we talk about that all the time because more and more and more I'm convinced, and I've said this already in chapel this year, that we have so many students here, and I love each and every one of you, but so many students in here who would say, yeah, I'm a Christian. I'm not anything else. Sure, I'm a Christian. I grew up going to church with my grandma. Yeah, I'm a Christian. I came to a Christian school, Paul. Yeah, I'm a Christian. I attend your church on Sunday morning. Yeah, I'm a Christian. I attend Crosspoint. Yeah, I'm a Christian. I pass New Testament with Dr. Millhouse. Yeah, I'm a Christian. Like on and on and on. I think we have a ton of students that are there, but I'm not sure how many. And I don't know this. This is ultimately in God's court, right? But I'm not sure how many we have that have really said, in light of God's mercy, Jesus is going to sit at the center of my life and he's going to drive everything that I do, every other decision I make, and all of who I am is going to be shaped by him and his ways. There's a hymn that haunts me. When I survey the wonderful cross, the last verse is this: were the whole realm of nature mine. Just stop for a minute and consider what the author of this hymn is saying. If I were somehow magically to possess everything in nature, were the whole realm of nature mine. Line 2. That would be an offering far too small. Don't skate past that. If you magically possessed all of nature and laid it at God's feet, it would be an offering far too small. Okay, What does God want from me? Love so amazing, so divine, maybe we could say Romans 12:1, right? Mercy so amazing, so divine. Jesus so amazing, so divine. Demands my soul, my life, my all. God wants you. And when I look at my life, that's pretty crazy. I don't deserve that. God wants me, God wants you. And that's the decision that drives the other two. Make that decision with me. And make it one time, you will have crossed from death to life. And then keep making it every single day. And as you do that, guess what? You'll live by conviction, not by conformity. As you do that, guess what? You'll live by God's plan and not by your plan. But that's where it starts. That's where it starts. Love so amazing, so divine, demands my life, my soul, my all. Bryan, thank you again. One more round of applause for Bryan.